Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Welcome to an Oh Shit Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy last 18 minutes of Thursday as we ride into the weekend.
Yes,
a very,
and William, before we get started any further, just one thing I want to cite
you're
real
not going
quick.
to piss me off at the beginning of the show, are you?
Yes. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. Okay.
Oh, we weren't going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't
But
going to.
I just wanted to get that out front.
Nope. Not. This is not the stream for it. So maybe someday I will set up a stream there when I'm talking that kind of stuff. But be honest with you, I talk about things that make me happy right now, and regardless to certain outcomes of certain things, that doesn't make me happy. So, all right, before we get going and we open up a can of worms, that is our chat. Just remember, we have rules around here, and those rules are ever growing. We have the banned list, the banned from discussion list. To be clarified at a later date, probably tomorrow for tomorrow's stream. 90s X-Men and Batman animated series, pineapple on anything because it is disgusting. Dumb Good Burger jokes because there are no good ones. James Gunn in the DCU because I'm just not really that excited at this point, and I don't want to talk it to death before it even gets within a year of being here. The Snyderverse because all that does is attracts trolls that pisses me off. And once again, if I'm here to be happy, then I don't feel like dealing with trolls tonight. Venom and Bane because they are, for the most part, oversaturated, overused, and overrated characters. And thanks to Brad, we will be banning this whole entire feral kid nonsense because it's stupid. And George Miller, this one's for you. Listen, you've hit a wall right now with your franchise, but let's not drop the bricks on top of our heads by fulfilling this silly prophecy here.
I shared something on the Discord about that. You guys,
found footage genre is banned as well. So those will be officially added before the Saturday overnight show.
Okay. Well, one of them is going to be lifted when we do the Mad Max watch party. Just
we may never. Who knows? I don't know.
I shared something on the Discord relating to that you guys would love if you're on the Discord. Okay.
Literally, you guys are really trying hard to keep me out of the hell of that Discord. But almost hit the end stream button instead of hitting comments. All right. Also, if you want to, we've had some people have been very generous these last 48 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope it's because you really love the content. But I mean, all I can do is say yes. I mean, it's kind of cool, but like I said, I'm wary because I never, my self-worth when it comes to this show is where it is. So, but the last couple of hours have been very good. People have been donating. I don't know if you, the donators, if you're watching the show, leave. You are allowed to leave a question or comment, and we'll read it on the air. But
it was George Miller because he agreed with me.
Nah, they're probably paying that money back that his movie's about to lose. All
Oh
right.
God, yeah. So that's so. God, that's a. I'm telling you, it's like when if you when we do the watch party, I mean, people are gonna be going like, man, it's one of those ones where Furiosa where people are gonna be you read this are discovering it or having sat it out theatrically, they're gonna go and like, man, this sucks that this bombed.
And like I said, if it was who produced the movie, as far as like who actually put up the money for the movie, because I think those are the people who are going to hurt the most. I don't think Warner Brothers is going to get touched because I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
they
probably
produced
like
it.
one Village Roadshow, something like that. I need to look that up. We'll see, what the longevity for it is, because again, it basically has this weekend to itself, and then Bad Boys is like the next big blockbuster the following Friday. So
That has a history of success though, so I think that one's going to do really well. All right, Kennedy Miller Mitchell was a company's and Domain Entertainment. So Kennedy Miller is an Australian film, television, video game production house in Post Point. Well, it's George Miller, so it was
oh, so
his and his
he's
partner's
he
money. Yeah,
oh
now you know why you're
oh
not getting because all Warner Brothers did was distribute it. So Warner Brothers is going to get, they can't lose.
mm,
But when it's Warner Brothers Studios and then they're the distributor, and when depending on what their agreement is, but this is not a very big company, so I don't think they could afford to necessarily wait for the.
God, they might be closing their doors if this hits them too hard.
Yeah, if you had, if they had like time, if it was part of their lexicon to make these PBOD, but I don't know what every movie's going to have a different deal as far as who gets a cut of the PVOD and everything else. I think in this case, Warner Brothers was probably going to get the lion's share of that as far as distribution goes. But the George Miller's own production company that he partnered with put up the money, so
Do
that's
you
his taking a hit.
do you know you might you might have more inside info on this than me, but because we've talked about like how like theatrical box office is divided up among the distributor and the theater chains and whatnot. Of course, even that varies like from territory to territory. But when it comes to like home media, like how and specifically with PVOD, like how's the revenue divided there? Is
I'm
it 50? Is it
don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's like 75 to 80% goes to the distributor.
okay?
Because if you look at like in a lot of these companies like Voodoo and Fandango, which are the same company, you look who owns those companies. They're generally partnerships between the major studios. So, they start getting that money almost immediately. And then once it comes onto their streamer, then it gets a collective advantage there. But as far as I'm pretty sure, like when it goes to home media, I'm almost sure that they get the lion's share. The actual distributor gets the lion's share. That's why I'm always saying that Warner Brothers, if it turns out that they don't think they're making enough money to sustain a DCU or anything like that, they can always maintain those distribution rights and ownership of the IP, and they make their money off the top. So they're not really hurting for it because some other company has put forth the production budget, and they're the ones that are promoting it, and then they're the ones that it's their money. And Warner Brothers is basically make sure because as the owner, they're the ones that will distribute it. So that's what I mean. But if you have a small production company like a George Miller Kennedy company, that's I'm pretty sure they have money, but I don't know if they had money to lose. I mean, so yeah, that's. But like I said, the distributor probably always going to go on top.
Okay, yeah, that's a question I've had my head for a little while. Is
There's a video. There's a really good. You know what? Remind me this weekend
yeah,
before the Saturday. There's a really good video that breaks it down, and it breaks it down. It might bore us to death, but it actually will answer a lot of these questions.
Can we
and
play
we'll
without
be able
getting pulled
to
down?
Yeah, because it's a tutorial type of thing. Because like I said, we're running into the same misconceptions when fans use the word bomb. Most of the time, it's misused because they don't understand the dynamics of whose money is what. If depending on who put up the money, it depends on how long they have to make their money back. Was it borrowed money? Is there interest involved? What first dollar is? Is there a big star involved that gets a bonus before anything else is counted? Type of situation. So you have to factor in all those things and to determine whether something is a bomb, or when a fan says, well, it should stay in the theater for all of eternity. And then when you look at the diminishing returns, it breaks that down to the point where, okay, the people who put up the money are going to want to get it in PVOD and all those formats immediately because their yield is higher. So there's a lot of techno babble that will literally bore our audience. But like I said, it's stuff that I think is very
Yeah.
is
Well,
very
well, like you said, like fans, like we use the term bomb in a very two-dimensional way, or it's just bomb in that it's like it didn't like crack or it's like it they were they use bomb and like it was like either it didn't hit 1 billion for like the bigger stuff, or it's like or we expected it to hit 700 and it hit 400 or something like that, but it's not but it's not like you said, it's such a there's so much of a Gordian knot, and like in terms of like how the money is like crisscrossing and getting divided among different parties involved. That I mean, it's a much grayer picture than just a black and white. You're either a bomb or you're not.
Yeah, and like I said, you'll hear people, and you'll hear people on YouTube channels, and it's a lot of it's an echo chamber. A lot of the stuff that we circulated amongst ourselves is this stuff that bounced off of another YouTuber. But like I said, I that's why I like to bring up articles. I like to bring up sources, when we do talk about these things, because there is, when people, talk about the theaters, what the theaters are going to, we talk to the people who are, every time we do one of these promotions, we're talking to the theaters, seeing how things are going, so yeah, it's a different dynamic, but I think we should bring that up. We should bring that up on Saturday, because like I said, the conversation last night with should Furiosa have even been made. Now, if you're thinking reality and consequences, it's a legitimate question. And that goes for any movie. The first step to a movie's success is whether it should have even been made to begin with. Because if it doesn't do it, if you haven't used the proper data, and you make it turns out bad, and you're not a super huge production company that can afford to take that brunt or take that liability again.
Storm,
you may endanger your franchise. So you got to start thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, going to the chat now. Hi, Aaron. How's it going? Luricos Nostra, Droga, RJ. How's it going, everybody? How's it going, Chappie? As I said earlier, yes, no politics. We avoid that pretty stringently on here anyway, because we're just that's not what we're about. I mean, how we put it is like we try to be.
I'm not neutral. I am not. I will tell you one thing. I am not neutral.
Neither am I. I have opinions too.
This is a place where I want you to come out from the rain, out from the storm, and you want to engage me on any other platform about politics? Trust me, I'm out there. You can find me. But this one right here is one where I want to welcome you, and I want for you to leave happier than when you got here. And there's just no way around it. You are not going. If I start talking politics, trust me, half of you are not going to be happy.
So
let's not do it.
And I have a very again, my perspective on things as far as like you're. As far as I'm concerned, you're just like as in my life and in my, anything outside the Sci-Fi Center. It's like as long as it doesn't involve, swastikas or white hoods or burning crosses, you're welcome here.
And sometimes even those lines can be blurred. So, next question. Next question, really. Ooh.
Yeah, that's it for the politics tonight, though, guys.
Yeah, that's good.
Last night I rewatched the Super 8 film, just proves all the heroes of JV. I haven't seen Super 8, actually. I never saw that.
It's been a while.
Yeah. That was before he was even doing Star Trek, so.
Yeah. This is when he was at his height of his TV career. Alias and Fringe and things like that.
How's it going, Ruth?
Hello.
And, by the way, Ruth, I did tell William about Ruth asked if we could, with some stuff she's got going on Saturday, if we could restructure Saturday to have Terrifier as the second part of the Saturday watch parties. And William said we go ahead and do that. And actually, I'll go ahead and ask this now, because that might because the second one is substantially longer. The first one, and I asked Ruth, she said yes, she and Fourth are totally okay with this. If we want to just do the first movie first.
Oh, whoa. You mean because we're doing Dark City?
Yeah, but as far as like the Terrifier ones, if we wanted to like have for the Terrifier part of that, that'd be just the first movie, and then we could do the second one.
Oh, so they've changed it. Okay, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like also because I was thinking like because again the second one is like 2 hours 20 minutes and the first one's like I can. So I was thinking like in terms of like adding like Dark City and also just doing the Saturday show. It's like that might and again Ruth asking if we could shift that around a little bit. That might ultimately work better. It just time wise. So yeah, we go and do that, and yeah, like I said, also with 2 because it's so much longer, and I said before, it's like we are not squeamish guys. I mean, we talk about our love of the 3Ds on here, every other stream, but it's just like Terrifier 2 is like it is just so much to take in. So it's like you got to really mentally prepare for it. And again, the first one it's every bit the bloodbath the successor is, but it's nice tight 90 minutes, so it's a little bit easier to kind of buckle up for that ride. So I think we're good. But yes, we got just a little bit of an update, everybody, on the Saturday watch party. So the Terrifier, the first one, will be the second one of that evening, following Dark City.
Yeah, see, Music Man. No, it does not involve the NBA. Not today. And yes, pineapples. He's right about pineapples.
RJ saying, "What can we talk about at this point with everything you listed off there?"
Geez, can we talk about this point? What point? What do you?
Well, you listed off.
What can we talk about? I don't know, man. Listen, we're here to make me happy.
Yeah.
And by me being happy, it irradiates to you guys. You're happy. I'm happy. You're happy.
Yeah, but the problem is also there are topics on there that make me happy that you're banning. So it's like we're cutting down the happiness.
Yeah, you're happy. Yeah, yours are your boneheaded topics. I'm okay with being banned because for some of that shit doesn't need to be happening anyway. But yeah.
I'm telling you guys. I mean, Mad Max stream.
This is why we have it. Why we have a ban list, RJ? This right here. I tried to keep the nonsense from the show, and by using the ban list, and now here we are talking about the fucking Pharaoh kid boil hats. Come on, that's why we have a ban list. Because everything on the ban list needs to go away anyway. Pineapples.
Have you watched that video I shared with Aaron that made her a believer?
I'm not watching that video.
Oh, you're afraid. Oh, you're afraid you're going to be brought over. No. That's what it is.
How many times have I said my time is valuable? Even if the shit is true, it's not even about me believing it's true or not. Whether it's ill-fated is what I'm talking about.
You might as well do it now if the franchise isn't going to go any further.
Like I said, he would have done it already. I don't think George Miller is not M. Night Shyamalan. You don't get dumb twists at the end of shit.
It's like he's watching somewhere right now. Yeah, and I shared.
No, he is not watching. He's probably doing other things right now, and he's probably trying to figure out who needs to finance his next movie. It needs to be Amazon. Amazon can spend the money.
Yeah, because they're just a bottomless pit of $100 bills. Amazon.
The more
I shared on the Discord because we're totally okay. I'll leave it at this, and then we'll leave it. This will reban the topic, but I shared on the Discord. He was actually interviewed like when Fury Road came out, where he was asked about that the Feral Kid fan theory, and he said I'm not quoting this verbatim, but he said, "Oh yeah, that wasn't in his head. At least that's what he's telling us." Wink, but he didn't exactly push back hard on it, so he thought it was kind of cool.
All right, yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it.
That's a good band one. That's probably one of the best band ones on the list.
Okay,
listening Will. I love British. I like Scotty's. I love Scotty's.
And you've got like a 3-day weekend or 4-day weekend coming out, Ruth.
She's always working out. She's probably ripped up, man. We got a fucking 6-pack and shit. Put me to shame.
Oh, okay. Now, this is stuff that's again not banned and not going to put a frown on anybody's face. So it'll go.
Don't be so.
I saw in A Violent Nature. Where's Azteca? Yeah, I've been here. I haven't seen A Violent Nature, but I'm not too up to date on this. Like, what's this all about? This Violent Nature?
It's basically the plot is it's a It's an undead killer. These kids go camping, and somehow, some way, and I'm not going to spoil it because I haven't seen it yet. They steal some locket, or they come into possession of locket, and the undead person, the undead killer, wants that locket back, so he's killing everybody in his way to get it back. It sounds like the fog. It sounds like the fog.
It sounds like
undead,
it sounds like an Evil Dead knockoff to me.
Yeah, but it looks. I mean, I've heard all kinds of reviews are all over the place, but it. I mean, it looks it's a IFC film, so it's IFC and it's a Shudder film, so it's going to go to the movies, but it'll be on Shudder pretty soon.
Oh, Shudder, okay.
We're going to do a while. I thought it was going to be on Shudder like immediately, but they're putting it in the theaters. Yeah, I've heard some really awful reviews about it, and I heard some really fun reviews about it. So
okay, yeah, because it sounds kind of Evil Dead-esque from that whole like.
Well, it sounds like The Fog. Have you ever seen The Fog?
I know of it. I haven't seen it though.
It's The Fog or like Dead Snow. Dead Snow, where they have the Nazi stolen treasure and the soccer team or whatever steals it. And they're getting their heads. That's a violent ass movie. So I saw the trailer of it looks fun to me. I think I might. But then again, I'm full of shit though because my weekends are
nothing can again as far as like blood and guts. I mean, it's a high bar to clear with Terrifier.
Yeah, I think I might be. I might be exhausted this weekend with that.
Well, like I said, it's like that's why the first one's a little bit easier to because it's a nice kind of tight 90 minutes, and the second one is 2 hours 20, and it's the gore on the second one. It's just really Bloodbath doesn't even cover it with these movies. They're just man.
Lots of cutting.
Yes,
lots of Chris Hemsworth is being cast in the league upcoming Transformer and G.I. Joe crossover film. Any idea who he could be playing?
Oh, I bet he's Duke. I
could see him playing Duke. I don't think the guy can act.
Well, here's the thing
too. I mean, and Duke is actually, if you're gonna, if all the meathead characters you could have in G.I. Joe, Duke is not one of them.
Well, but here's the thing. Because this was set up by the last Transformers last summer, which didn't
it
just kind of okay. It's been a year, guys, but it's that kind of came and went. So that maybe goes a little bit into the decision making now with how they're weighing like the totality of the revenue as opposed to just box office.
All right, so when you look up with what was it? What was that movie? What was the last Transformer movie called?
It was Beast War.
Beast Wars.
It kind of came one for me. So
I actually think it did.
It did okay, but it didn't do like with the first three did. Because that's when the franchise really kind of was at its peak financially.
Well, it's never had a peak. So. Well, actually, no, it did. For most Transformers movies have made money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it did Rise of the Beast did 439 against a budget of 195 to 200. So it did okay.
They doubled their money.
Yeah.
They doubled their money off of a franchise that I thought was done. And I think now here's the data you use on that one. People have been wanting a decent G.I. Joe movie forever, and they really. The last ones they did were just kind of all over the place. They just kind of it was like too much of a composite. I think the G.I. Joe aspect of it would do the very least. I think that is there for this not to do any less than 430 million. I think that's an easy bet because if you look at the history of Transformers movies, they don't do bad. You may not like some of them,
and
I think some of them
received well, yeah,
bad. But you know what? The money got received, and then so here's the thing about movies not being received well: if the next one makes at or around or the same or more, then that doesn't even matter because it's consistently at some point you got to listen to the math. And the Transformers franchise, if you look at the Transformers franchise, it's widely successful.
Yeah,
so that alone justifies this one.
It's had some diminishing returns in the last few years, but it's again it peaked. I
think, but look at those diminishing returns. There are people right now who would get promoted.
Yeah, there were
diminishing returns. So diminishing returns are not enough to.
Well, I'm just saying. So they did have a point where they were doing about $1 billion a movie, between the 2 to 4 era.
Let's see.
Now
Movie.
again, the landscape has changed significantly, so there's also
I mean, you
that's
also the
also
first
the
movie came out in '07 too, so we're
yeah,
talking
which and that was like that did like 700. That would be
seven
like
seven hundred and ten.
that'd probably be like equivalent to a billion now.
The second one did 836. The third one, which was an absolutely horrible movie, made 1.1 billion. So they escalated. Transformer, another horrible movie. Age of Extinction did another 1.1 billion on a
Yeah,
two
I
hundred
never
million
saw
dollar
the
budget.
last night. I never saw the last night.
It was bad. This one was bad. This one was actually a bad movie, and there was
Last night?
really nothing. Yeah, there was not a lot of good to say about this movie. I think that's what I
Yeah,
heard
I
of that
remember.
one. That one when it dropped.
I remember actually because that came out around the same time as Wonder Woman that summer. So I was
Yeah, it
you
came
know
out in June,
yeah. So
January.
I was getting a little bit that was where I was getting a little bit nervous. Like, oh, I hope Wonder Woman doesn't get overshadowed by Transformers. Like, oh, I didn't have anything to worry about there.
Budget Bumblebee was didn't cost him that much, and it made him 468, so that was a
Yeah,
success.
Bumblebee I really liked. I enjoyed that a lot.
Rise of the Beast on a 195 to 200 million did 439. They doubled their money, but they probably broke even with that one. But the overall franchise, if there's enough data here to look at what did we do right, what did we do wrong, when we were doing this, it made us money. When we were doing this, it lost us money, and then you can base your decision making on that. There's still money to be. Just looking at what I just read off, there's money to be made. And in the Transformers franchise and the GI Joe franchise, for that matter, because remember, you could be opening the door up to just solo GI Joe movies that are,
Yeah,
you
GI
know,
Joe's kind of had a little bit of a up and down
yeah.
history theatrically because you had the first two, which the first two I did enjoy, uh, and then you had the Snake Eyes. And Snake Eyes is
Oh,
even.
whoa,
I
whoa.
thought I thought it was okay, but
What?
I thought it wasn't bad. But I mean, it is a prime example of when Williams says most reboots fail because that did not perform
That
well at
movie
all.
was awful, awful. I remember being on the lounge and we were just destroying that movie because it was so bad. All right, so yeah, so with Transformers, I can see it. I can see it going forward. Um, William Bad, do you think movie theaters charging more than $10 or for a large? Ooh, yeah, well, it's getting up there because I know my large here is like $8.
Oh, and that reminds me, they did tweet out like it kind of like what they did with Dune with the
Yeah,
kind of
the popcorn buckets
yeah with Dune now they have that now it's Wolverine so
with the mouth
so
open.
yeah.
For large soda, large popcorn, and charging more than $5 for smart candy is driving consumers away. No, no. Well, the overall experience, the cost of the experience may be, but that's why these movies that are out there have. That's why when people ask why we keep making the franchise movies, there's that because that's what's creating the traffic. I think the price of the snack that's not a big deal. It's the actual overall situation of the person as well. I mean, I don't think if the theaters in the box office, they don't have a large margin to make money. They don't make any money off the actual movie itself, not a lot. So their margin has to be made through those things. But if you have broke customers who can only have fixed incomes and can't go to as many movies, that's going to affect things more than, because they want to go buy that stuff. They just
I'd really
can't.
love to know talking about that part. I really would love to know like with AMC, because again I have the A list membership. I would really love to know like how what the figures are on that so as far as like how many like how what their membership like level is like and how much that's growing because I can't imagine like if people are if you're being offered something like that I can't imagine like people, especially people with families, aren't going to be, signing up. I think because again, it's 25 a month for 3 freebies a week, which
Are
and
there
now,
limitations on the days? Can you go on any day, or are there limitations on the
no,
days?
not in the days, no, no.
Okay.
The only real limitations I've ever encountered, occasionally when there's like some kind of like special Fathom events thing or something like that, sometimes
Yeah.
they will say, okay, this is a special. Kind of like one time thing we're doing so it's like you can't use their membership for that but that's about it and now obviously the economic how economical that is I mean it'll vary from different one household to another which again like for me it works great because I'm not married I don't have kids so I can use that to I can get three free ones a week out of that and it be very effective if I want to a family of four that's 3 free shows per person so if you go to one show it's use one of those for like 3 out of 4 of the people, then you've shot through all that. But again, you still save quite a bit of money that way. So I would really be curious to know like what the membership figures are on the AMCA list. I remember I think that's another thing. I think the theaters, like other chains or like theaters largely, they're probably going to need to start embracing a lot more is that subscription based membership and things like that as far as ticketing. I remember
like
when
we said, combine it to the streamers, combine it to the Netflixes, combine it, get a revenue sharing thing to where the subscription helps you on all platforms, including the box office. Also, what they need to really do is, this is the second movie this year that's had our third movie that's had a spectacular popcorn bucket thing. Every major movie that you have, they should lean into that stuff, because that's add-on revenue. With the popcorn went from a $7-8 bucket of popcorn for Dune to a $28 and it sold out the day I was there. Those buckets sold out. So for movies like that, you can add on revenue, and you're licensing that stuff. It's all profit there. So that's what I'd like to see. Like when Transformers comes out, or when Aliens comes out, I mean, there should be something significant for you to buy when you get to the theater. Just like Deadpool and Wolverine, just like Ghostbusters, and just like Dune. There should be something significant, because it costs nothing to make those things. I have my book.
I remember speaking and talking about like the subscription base. I remember when MoviePass was big about 6 years ago, and I had
it cost nothing to make.
Yeah. And it made like 8 billion memes out of it in the process. So
exactly, and AMC needed that money.
Yeah, but they when they had MoviePass, my folks got me that for my birthday that year, and MoviePass, the way that worked, I mean, they were really kind of.
There's a documentary about that.
Oh yeah, they were running like a whole like Ponzi scheme or something, because the way it was going, it was like it was $10 a month for your subscription, and you basically had unlimited. You could use it forever you wanted, and it's like I back then I was like, oh yeah, this is not a sustainable business model at all. But it's like, I'm like, okay, I'm at least gonna ride this as far as I can. So I used that until they really started going under a couple months later. But it's like, save some money. So
yeah, that one was, like I said, that documentary on that is I haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be epic as far as like how the dynamics, all that works for them. Hold on for a second.
We got some more of the comments here. And I think Deadpool Wolverine killed the popcorn bucket industry. Man.
Because like I said, you could do one for just about any kind of movie like that.
Yeah.
Any movie that's science fiction. I mean, when G.I. Joe comes out, you should do something like that. Transformers, you missed the boat.
You can't tell me the next Jurassic World they're not going to do something with some kind of a popcorn bucket.
Yeah, and those are, I mean, and don't just do one. Do a couple different ones,
Yeah. And by the way, there was also news that broke today that Mahershala Ali is going to. He's in talks for the next Jurassic World, and of course, everybody, including me, like maybe was making. Okay, so that tells you how good Blade's going right now.
Nah, I mean, actors can film 2 movies at one time. Directors can direct 2 movies at one time if they want to. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Him being in talks to do that. Actors do that. They don't just do one movie.
I get that, but also it's like he's not just going to sit around, and just wait until Blade is ready to go sometime around the year 10,000.
But if Blade gets going faster, Blade would probably take precedence, because that was his first obligation. So Jurassic Park would get moved back. So it all depends on.
And he's like apparently Scarlett Johansson's like as far as like the headlining cast is apparently going to be like the biggest one, but or the one taking the lead, but so we don't really know like what capacity he's in it as, but and he's done villains well. He was awesome as Vector in Alita Battle Angel, so I could foresee him like being like a nefarious, like shadowy, like dinosaur scientist or corporate figure, in this. I
know he's not going to come cheap. So.
Oh yeah. I first saw him in Predators in 2010. That was before he really had started making a name for himself. But he was one of the soldiers or assassins that the Predators picked, and they drop on their game preserve planet. That was the where I first saw him, but that was before he broke out. So it's kind of cool looking back when before like a big star really becomes a big name and saying, oh yeah, I saw him or her before they were really that known.
Yeah, that movie had Adrian Brody in it, Academy Award
Yeah,
winner
yeah,
himself.
yeah.
So.
RJ says Brad, William Brad, who's favorite Superman villain? I'm probably gonna go with General Zod. I've always loved
I'm gonna
General Zod.
I'm gonna go with Zod from Man of Steel.
Yeah, he's my favorite version of Zod, but even extrapolating beyond that, I've always loved the. I'm somebody in.
Oh, comic wise, it's gonna be Brainiac. In movies, it's Zod. Michael Shannon's Zod.
Well, and like with those, and Superman, that's the thing, and this is where the movies have never when we started to get that with what Zach was doing, but I mean the movies and TV has also done this much better too than movies traditionally have. But Superman movies, they've really shortchanged his rogues gallery. Superman has a much bigger rogues gallery than a lot of people realize. I mean, because you can listen. You ask like the average like general audience or just normie like name Superman villains, they're going to name Lex Luthor and General Zod because they're like the guys who've been seen the most cinematically. But I mean, aside from that, you have there's Brainiac, there's Darkseid, there's Doomsday, there's Ultraman, there's Metallo, there's Bizarro. Who else we got? Parasite. So there's just so many great ones, and they've exploited Superman's rogues gallery far more on TV than they have in movies. So that's something that and again, like you said, Brainiac keeps getting the shaft. I mean, Brainiac, what the hell is it going to take to get Brainiac in a Superman movie? But going back to Archie's question, Zod has always been my favorite Superman villain for the reason being, and this kind of like this creeps up a bit to a Van topic, but I'm somebody who's always when it comes to the hero, I always love the idea of the villain being like this kind of dark mirror of the hero, and the idea that the idea of them like having this identical or similar powers and similar origin stories, because I always love the idea of the villain like being a reflection of like what the hero could have become had they taken had they gone down the wrong path. And Zod, being a Kryptonian, really embodies, he's got the exact same powers as Superman. And he represents like, okay, this is a Superman who just is going the complete opposite direction of what Superman does. So that's always dug him. And then with with Spider-Man and Batman and a lot of their villains, those are kind of a lot of the villains I've always really been enamored with, is the villain who can really embody an analog for the hero in a way that it's reflective of their powers and skills and origins, but also like the hero went this way and the villain went this way. And the idea of them being like two sides of the same coin, I've always really really dug, and then that Superman and Zod really capture that. So that's why I would go Zod.
Just found seeing Violent Nature was solid. Probably closest thing you'll get to seeing a video game on film. See, I'm not a gamer, so I'm probably that aspect of it has been lost on me.
What else you guys got?
No, I don't. I think the movie theaters will go through ebbs and flows, but I don't think they'll ever truly go away.
That's the other thing, because people seem to be pegging so much for like this summer, as far as like the financial woes theatrically. Like people are putting just so much on the shoulders of Deadpool and Wolverine. But like how I mean, now you've already said you think Bad Boys is going to do very well, but do you think that people are underestimating that as far as like ones that could be like really big breakouts? Because that doesn't seem to be in the conversation as much as in terms of people looking at the theatrical situation and saying, okay, this is going to be the one to like help quote unquote save it. Not that you should put that on
because like I said, the conversation is flawed from that. So you listen to the people who are always saying that this is going to save cinema. It's usually bullshit anyway. So they don't literally have the wherewithal to look at all the movies on the landscape that could do well. Bad Boys, like I said, Bad Boys. There hasn't been a Bad Boys movie that hasn't been a box office hit. Yeah. So unless if this one is not a box office hit, it would be the first one that is not. But you have proven names, you have a proven franchise that has entertained people. I don't think you're going to have a problem.
How much also? I mean, this is of course. I mean, the elephant in the room is Will Smith. That
not at all.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going the opposite direction of that. It's like, how much do you think they're going to play up the reception and the both in terms of the reception and the financials of it, how much you think the studio or the media will play it up as like the Will Smith redemption story?
Not at all. The
You don't think
fact
so?
they're I think they're smarter than that. I don't think they'll do that at all. The focus, there's enough focus with it being a Bad Boys movie and the success that it has. They know they don't need to do anything like that. They just need to put this movie out there, and that's it.
Yeah. I just thought it was on my mind about that though.
And they're probably directing him not to even answer questions about anything
Yeah.
other than
Oh, there.
because, like I said,
I bet he's probably put it, stipulated that's
yeah.
something. Again, putting slightly pulling back the curtain a little bit on my line of work. That is something that the big stars will from time to time. This doesn't happen like super often, but there have been times where I've interviewed people and I've been like told in advance, like, okay, this topic is off limits. This is a no-fly zone, and I can't. I would be shocked if like Will himself has not made that. Now that doesn't. Again, like sometimes you'll get the odd journalist who like will really say like, okay, I'm just going to jump over that line anyway because
then you won't see that guy at another press conference. So
yeah,
they gotta know. You got to know your role in those situations. And if they instruct you in these pressers not to ask, and you do it, then they have exclusive control over who gets in those things and has access to those things. So you don't want to fuck up. You don't want to fuck up your access by asking a question when they told you.
It's just courtesy on a personal level. It's like you don't bombard the man with like, oh, you remember the time you slapped Chris Rock on national television?
Yeah, we're here. We're not here to promote that. We're here to promote Bad Boys. So yeah, usually they will. From what I've heard, they will lay out ground rules, and if you cross those lines at your own risk.
Yeah, I would really be curious. Everybody remembers this one. We have a question in a second here on Hunter, but when Age of Ultron was coming out, this one journalist kind of hit Robert Downey Jr. with a bunch of questions about. It was kind of about it was related to both his past drug addiction and what his father's drug problems, and that interview became kind of infamous because Downey was very visibly uncomfortable with it, and he walked out of it, rightly so. I would have too. I mean, I think he had every right to be uncomfortable and upset with that, and so I'd be interested what happened to that guy who was interviewing him, because that was. I mean, I would have gotten reprimanded massively, with any outlet I've ever contributed to.
Yeah, and then the agent's going to be like, "You lose that guy, or we don't answer any of your questions ever again." So, William Powell Background, what are your thoughts on David Zaslav? Say if we are sold, or
if we are
to
sold
another movie company, he would probably take a buypt. That would probably be his golden parachute. He would.
Well, what do you mean? If we are, did he say this today?
I think he may. No, I think he said if the Warner Brothers is sold, but there's been no news.
But was he asked like if we are sold and X, Y, or Z will happen, or what?
No, he's just asking a general question.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's happened today.
Okay.
I think he's just asking a random question there.
Zaslav again. It's like he'll get a golden parachute. I mean, his severance will be like more than most people see in 4 lifetimes. So.
Hello,
our buddy Thad.
Let's see.
Dort Knight says it's very it can be very economical when you're not married or have children, as a way to
see that. Unfortunately for the studios, we are the low end spectrum.
Yeah,
because we're not the multipliers. They want that 4 and 5 and 6 times.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna have to start getting a lot more creative with that, both memberships and what the overall theater layout and things like that. Oh yeah, I did see this rumor today that they'd be down for, or it wasn't like a rumor. They were just asked straight up, and they said they'd be down for directing Spider-Man 4. They're apparently Oh, they are. Oh, okay. That I didn't see that they're actually in. I mean, it would surprise me if Sony, because they made the last Bad Boys with them. They they did the one that's coming up, so they clearly have a good relationship with Sony. So that's that would be that sounds plausible to me that there could be talks about that, and we'll see where that goes.
Only if Sam Raimi says no. If Sam Raimi is a possibility, then no, that's who I want to. We don't want to direct that one, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, he's. Obviously, you're talking like right of first refusal with Sam Raimi.
I don't think he's not compelling to me.
He's really good for me in the Extraction movies. I think that's where he started to show a lot of like outside of Thor, show a lot of his versatility. I think he did the best with what he was given in Ghostbusters, which was he was basically asked to be like an Australian Homer Simpson.
But he's given a lot with Thor, and look what he does. So.
I actually think I mean, and yeah, like again, Thor, he's a Love and Thunder aside, he's actually had
Dark
he's
World.
actually yeah, but that's again, I'm not putting that on him. Like he's Thor
he's the star of the movie. Yeah.
Thor has been
it is on him.
I'm talking about the material that he had to work with. No, Thor has been at his best in the MCU when he's been part of the ensemble. That's which is unfortunate because as far as his solo career, but still, that's where Thor has shined the most. I think most people will probably agree. Have been in the team ups. And yeah, so that's kind of where I fall on that. And he's phenomenal in Furiosa. I would liken him to in Furiosa to Jason Momoa in Fast X. The difference is that Jason is like he knows he's in a completely batshit, and I mean both these Fast X and Furiosa, they're both batshit insane, but they're in different ways. Like Furiosa batshit insane, like awesome batshit insane. Fast X is batshit insane. It's like this is just like live action Looney Tunes at this point. So, but Jason knows that and he's having fun with it, and so they're villains on the same kind of hammy, campy spectrum in both Fast X and Furiosa. So yeah, Hemsworth. That's the other thing. It's like when we do that watch party. There we go. We do that watch party. It's like I think William, you will go, okay. Hemsworth is actually better than I give him credit for.
I mean, 8-9 movies into your career. I mean, that's fine, but he just doesn't do anything for me. So I can't. I gave this movie maybe an episode and a half, or this show an episode and a half. It just wasn't for me. I know a lot of people enjoy it. I don't like that animation style, and I don't like the pace of the show. That's just me personally. So I gave it. I tapped out of a.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of people do, but it's like.
You're talking about the animation style. The Tomorrowverse actually really kind of lost me as far as the animation style, and a lot of the story choices did kind of lose me. And there were some that I did like, but yeah, they kind of the Tomorrowverse really kind of dropped the ball on me.
As far as I was going to keep going, but it was like there's just nothing for me in this show, so I moved on.
Yeah. Aaron asks, "Have you seen the?" Yeah, he's seen it. We've all seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder like how much crazier can we get with the idea of like people sticking their hands inside of like something that's going to bite their hand off with the popcorn buckets. I mean, again, Jurassic World. It's like, I mean, come on. It's like you got that's baked right into it. RJ, I don't see Jurassic making its release date. It's dated for July 2nd, 2015. Haven't even begun production. They're still casting. Well, I mean, that's definitely that's a valid point. I mean, that's a placeholder. It could definitely be a placeholder. And yeah, no, you have any thoughts on that, William? Because that was a pretty quick turnaround for a Jurassic Park movie.
I don't see anything. I don't see why they wouldn't, personally, unless I hear about production issues. This stuff is mapped out. And they don't have a history of missing those production dates, so I don't. There's nothing to me indicating that they would make that date.
Okay. Jaroga says nobody cares. You're talking about Will Smith's slap, right? Nobody cares about.
Really, I mean, people still, but it's starting to fade. It's starting to become,
Yeah. The immediacy of it is definitely, and that kind of goes to what William says too. When fans, now, I mean, this would definitely be like on. I don't imagine like mass boycotts. I never did for like. For like one instance of losing your temper and assaulting somebody, like leading to like mass boycotts. But that does speak to what William has said about when you talk about like fans and audiences, like making moral pronouncements of this person involved with this has crossed some kind of line that we're now taking a moral stand that we're not going to support anything they're involved with at this point. Like fans by and large are just blowing smoke when they say that.
Yeah, their fans are full of shit. Yeah. Aaron's like, what is going on with Chris Hemsworth? Most of the Most of the
Oh, sorry.
films outside that he's made outside the UNC haven't done well. Yeah,
Yeah,
because he's not that kind of attraction.
yeah, he's well, I mean, like a lot of stars do run to the kind of that problem too, of like getting a little bit typecast and sort of having trouble thriving outside of their signature role, which of course in his case is Thor. Extraction actually is probably I think where he's really struck gold the most. In the
Yeah,
Extraction movies.
the ones that are really good avoid that problem.
Well, like
If they
like
have diversity and dimension, to their
like
characters and
well,
what they
like
can
well,
do.
okay, I mean like that's I mean to play a little devil's I mean now I think he's starting to change this up a little bit now with like some of the stuff he's got coming up. But I mean, The Rock, of course, is like he's
The
sort of
Rock wasn't an actor by trade. Chris
yeah,
Hemsworth was.
but he cultivated an image that was that was very successful. And again, he's expanding beyond that a little bit now. But again, he's had a pretty good track, pretty good
Yeah.
run with the
Well,
The Rock on
because
screen
his
persona.
appeal was not his movies. Prior, The Rock was The Rock before he ever stepped in front of the camera. Chris Hemsworth is an actor by trade, so your better comparison to him would be like a Denzel Washington or a Robert Downey Jr. See, the ones that are in that top tier can do a lot of different things, and you look at people's catalogs and you look at Chris Hemsworth, and it's not necessarily his fault. He took what he could get, but there's just different levels to what people can do and what kind of talent they have. And he's just not a draw. I mean, there's not, outside of the MCU, like I said, if Thor was some indie, yeah, but Extraction wasn't, Extraction has viewership, but as far as like drawing me to get out of my house and head down to AMC Town Square to go see him, it's just not. It's never been, unless he's had a hammer in his hand and a dude in an iron suit and a big green dude in the vicinity. I just didn't never really care, and a lot of people just don't consider him that kind of draw.
Yeah, which again, that sucks for Furiosa because he's a really great villain in it.
Yeah, but it goes to tell you, listen, making a good what have I said for
making
years
a good
now?
movie is not in and of itself
It's
the
like 25%
yeah.
of the success of the movie.
If that.
If you create a movie and the environment and the tapestry is not right, you've basically thrown that movie to the wolves. If the circumstances and the situation trump sometimes how great the movie you made. There's a lot of people who've gone and seen for years. I mean, there's a lot of movies that people come back saying, this is great. I loved it. I had a good time. And then Fall Guy is one of them. Doesn't matter. Sometimes making a good movie is not enough. Sometimes people don't want to hear that, but it's true because there's a lot of good movies that have come out that are in situations that are not that are not indicative of making money. That's why you have to scan your situation. You have to understand: do I have momentum for this? Can I get momentum from this? Can I build on this? Is this a draw? People are going to go for this because you can make Shakespeare, you can make Scorsese, and if nobody sees it, who cares? You know what I mean? It sucks because some of the movies I love fall into that category. But it is a business. It's not fanfare for that part. It's a business. If your fanfare doesn't lead to results, then it turns from fanfare to a mistake.
Well, you're involved there. I'd love for Chris Hemsworth to come back to Australia and do some indie films here. They could help him in the Aussie industry. Yeah.
He's still a big name. I just like to say his acting ability just doesn't draw me. That's all.
All right. See what else you guys got for us. Clear. Yeah. Thor: The Dark World. It's not the best. It is definitely lower tier MCU.
And Thor, I went in the original Thor years and years ago because you tell me Kenneth Branagh's directing a movie, I'm there first day, and I'm like, oof. But I bought into it because he was going to be the Avenger. I knew he was going to be the Avenger.
That's something. The only way I could see like any further like Thor solo movies at this point, I would really want them to take it back to like what Branagh started, and maybe have him direct again, and take him back to the idea of like the Shakespearean influence, because that was the big reason why they brought Branagh into direct, with his background with Shakespeare and the idea of Thor being like being steeped in Shakespearean-esque kind of lore. Now how reflected that was in the finished product, it was maybe up for debate in the first Thor. But that's the only way I could see like them really doing like a Thor 5 that really resonates at this point, is like take it back to the idea of like the Shakespearean family conflict.
I hope we don't ever see a Thor 5.
I think so, yeah.
No, I will know, because these characters have had their run. I don't need an Iron Man 4. I don't need another Captain America. Yeah, I mean, we're getting one, but I don't need another Steve Rogers Captain America. I got all that I needed. I want that time. You know, I want them to drift into support characters if they're there at all, and I want that time to be given to this new wave of characters that we have not seen used since 2008. So yeah, I don't need another Thor movie. I don't see where it fits. It doesn't even fit with Loki being involved in Secret. I mean, it just doesn't anymore. He could be part of it, but like I said, I want Secret Wars to be a goodbye to all that has come before, and a
Yeah.
hello to all that is coming.
Yeah. Aaron or Fourth says Aaron. Most of these actors that said MCU haven't hit RDJ barely fun. Yeah, yeah. He well his well no he well he's a little bit different because he actually really he's had an easier
He's
time
nominated
establishing.
for Academy Chaplain. I mean, he picks movies that don't make money
Well,
too.
not just,
That's
well,
another
not just
thing.
that. Also, but he like Sherlock Holmes. Like he really had during in the height of his Iron Man run. He's doing Sherlock Holmes. So he did that. He had success with that. So he has yeah. Of course, he just had Oppenheimer. Getting his Oscar, and it was a big hit in his aftermath of Iron Man. Not to say that he didn't again in his of his non-Iron Man career didn't have. I mean, like Doolittle was like a real like what the fuck is this kind of bomb?
Yeah,
But,
I wasn't a fan of Sherlock Holmes. I think that's one of the. I wasn't a fan of that.
oh,
Movie,
those are my favorite Guy Ritchie movies. That
yeah,
that and
like,
his King Arthur I really love.
yeah, this is like, what is this?
His
I
King
was
Arthur,
like, what is
his
this?
King Arthur is fucking rad.
Yeah, I would be okay. I know they're in talks, but I would be okay if I never saw him as Sherlock Holmes again. I thought that was one of his. It was a cool movie, but I put something else on it. It's that was as Sherlock Holmes as I am.
Yeah, his King Arthur. That'd be good for a watch party because it's a very stylized take on King Arthur. Charlie Hunnam is a King Arthur, and yeah, so those are probably my favorite. He's mainly, of course, known for like gang movies, crime movies, and which is not. It's not really my thing so much, but it's like but he's definitely Guy Ritchie. He's definitely very good. With what he does with that. So, but yeah, his the ones of his I've really enjoyed the most have been Sherlock and King Arthur, and I did enjoy his Aladdin too. With even though it's not a Guy Ritchie movie, it's a movie that Guy Ritchie directed for Disney, so you do have to sort of distinguish that a little bit. But I did of like the Disney fairy tale live action movies, Aladdin was definitely the one I've enjoyed the most because most of them just bored me to tears. I mean, like Lion King, that was Lion King was like. I mean, the dialogue in Lion King is like almost taken verbatim from the original movie to the point where like I don't even know why they bother bringing new actors. They might as well just recycled the audio from the '94 one into the new one because it's just so.
I'm outside of this conversation because the Lion King on any platform means absolutely nothing to me. Sorry.
Well, I just kind of on my Guy Ritchie talk just sort of ended up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, by the time Lion King came out, I was beyond the kids stuff, and since I don't have kids to take to it, I just had no use for it. So,
well, yeah, well, I took my nephew to see that for his birthday that year.
yeah. If I had nephews and stuff, I probably would have got trapped in it. But
yeah, but yeah, that's quick, going from RDJ to Guy Ritchie there. Those, but yeah, his probably during his Iron Man run, those were his big hits he had were his Sherlock Holmes movies. Apparently, they are trying to get a third one, either as a movie or as like an Amazon series off the ground now. But but like the other, like the rest of the Avengers cast, I mean, like Renner is like, of course, he was also part of the Mission Impossible franchise, and so that was his big thing outside that. Of course, he has axe in it, which is very unfortunate, but he's coming back from that now. Who else?
Chris killed himself.
Yeah, Chris Evans. He was doing stuff like in the midst of his Captain America run, but that was I mean during his Captain America run, it's like people were seeing him as Captain America through and through. I mean, that was he actually I had this on I was kind of going through this in my head the other day. Evans, he did this is something I don't know if there have been like or articles written on this or anything, but Evans like from First Avenger to Endgame, or from 2011 to 2019, every single year during that period, people saw him on screen in the suit with the shield at least one time. every year from 2011 to 2019. No other MCU like mainline Avengers cast member has done that. So he was really that was his full-time job, Captain America, during that whole period.
He
So
probably made enough money not to
ever work again. Yeah.
So, listen, guys, I'm listen, and this is probably going to get me a lot of heat. Not the biggest Guy Ritchie fan in the world.
I just said I'm not. It's like for most of his work, but he's done things I do really like.
Yeah, I'm just not. There hasn't been a Guy Ritchie movie where I'm like, ooh, I've seen a lot of them, and it's just not for me. I mean, and I didn't like Sherlock Holmes. I didn't like his version of Sherlock Holmes. So that's just me. That's just I continue to love him. It doesn't move the needle for me.
No Force says his acting ability doesn't try.
Yeah, listen, guys. When it comes to Disney live action adaptations, you're only talking about to one half of the show because I've never ever.
And even that half, it's like
sorry.
I was like, he was lukewarm at best on it. So.
Yeah, things that are never going to get a response from me are like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Lion King.
Again, Aladdin I enjoyed.
I didn't have any regard for the animated versions of them. Not that I hated them, but it was just.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, so much of we'll be talking about like conversation with the fandom. So much of the idea of like I'm not a fan of something gets equated with I actively hate X, Y, or Z. It's like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not usually the case. Like I mean, I'm not a fan usually just means that I'm indifferent or I'm apathetic or I'm just not within that circle.
Yeah, by the time Lion King came out, I was a grown ass man running a store filled with lots of things in a genre that would, like I said, if I'd have seen Lion King as like a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, probably a different story.
I did see
most
it
of these things came out. Yeah, most of these things came out at a time where I was done with watching animation for that purpose. So.
Yeah, Lion King though. So if you guys do want me to kind of like, because I have seen most of them. I saw actually Beauty and the Beast with my friend Ashley, who is, she loves the original. So she was going into that like, oh man, she was excited about that. And she had an absolute ball with it. I was just along for the ride for that because I'm like, there were things we've seen. Well, one of these days I'm gonna get her on here because
she's saying that.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I've told her about the show. I've told friends like outside of our circle.
I'm waiting to hear from this person now. I'm like,
she what have I checked out now? And now she is
and
yeah, exactly. So,
what's your point forth? I missed something.
She would be interesting to have a BVS debate about because I've debated like the Snyder DC stuff with her left, right, and center. She's not a fan of Man of Steel or BVS, but she did like ZSJL. She did like that a lot. She is also like Aaron now is a recovering Joss Whedon fan. That's it for the band topic. But that is kind of we've had lively debates about those, so that is kind of fun to mention. But what has she pulled me along for? I did a Harry Potter marathon with her a while back, like a really long time ago. Because she is a pretty big Harry Potter fan. Not my thing. Not.
Yeah, same here, man. I was of a generation of the Harry Potter generation. It just wasn't for me because, like I said, there are people older than me that are Potterheads, and I'm like,
oh yeah. And then I got to, I was with her for the at least the first two of the Fantastic Beasts. Just went along with her for that. So yeah, she could.
I was a grown ass man. I wasn't gonna watch fucking Lion King.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was watching it because I'm probably gonna be. I was expecting to be writing something about it. So.
And my genre is comic books, which is not a fucking cartoon about lions and shit. I'm reading stuff. I mean, you see what I read. You see what I sell. My mind frame was not in kid shit at that point, and that's to me what those movies were. I was a grown ass man running a business, with my mind geared towards wherever comics were going to take me, not a kid's cartoon. It's not flexing; it's just the fucking truth. I mean, come on now, trying to label me fourth.
Yeah, but going back to Ashley, like I'm gonna tell her too. I've mentioned her so much on the show tonight because sure, like what, but yeah, she was very giddy about the Beauty and the Beast live action one from a few years ago. So I wouldn't have seen that other than like seeing with her, because again, it's just much more her, so than her thing, and it had some kind of overlap with Harry Potter, with Emma Thompson being a Belle in that.
I watched that show on CBS with Ron Perlman. That's when Ron Perlman got his big start. For me with the
The
Beauty and the Beast TV
CBS Beauty
show.
and the Beast.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever watched anything to do with Beauty and the Beast.
Well, because the thing about, because like you talked about like if you had been like a kid when like Lion King came out, that it would have been a different
Yeah,
story.
a different story. Yeah.
Well, because I did see it then, but there was, even as like a 6-7 year old, like a lot. I mean, most of like the Disney, that's not where that's not where I would gravitated to most of my life is, and that's not like a good or a bad thing. It's just a neutral.
That's what you were. To be honest with you, now I'm going to go ahead and revise that, because when I was a kid, the old man wasn't going to take us to see that shit. The old man was taking us to see. Well, taking us to see the stuff he was going to see. He was taking us to go see Aliens, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Conan the Barbarian, Mad Max, World War II. I remember seeing him. I remember one weekend, I think in San Bernardino, we saw Back to the Future and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I think were released the same year, if I can remember
yeah,
right.
It was 85, yeah.
And that's what we were saying. I mean, there were tons of Disney cartoon movies that were out that they were constantly releasing. It just wasn't what we were watching. I mean, it wasn't. We had the Disney Channel back when the Disney Channel was the Mickey Mouse Club, and it was Mickey Mouse Club, and it would be Disney cartoons all day.
MOUSE.
I've never really been a big Disney fan as far as their cartoon goes, because I was into violence, and there was not violence in Disney cartoons. You had to go to Daffy Duck and Tom and Jerry for that. So I just was never a big Disney guy, period.
Yeah.
The only way I became a Disney guy is because they bought up all the shit that I'm into. But growing up, I was never a big Disney guy, and that's not knocking Disney. I don't think I'm not a big Disneyland guy. I don't see the value in going to Disneyland for me. But I know there is value for others. So I'm like, every time you put your mouse on, you have fun.
Yeah, they're the biggest studio company on the planet, so clearly they have a massive audience.
Yeah.
So it's not.
They're going to be just fine without me.
Yeah,
just fine.
Like with me, tentatively on stuff. And again, like William said, it's like they bought up so much stuff I was enamored with Marvel and Star Wars and whatnot. That's like that has been where my Disney attention has been, the last decade or so. But yeah, it's like when I was a little kid, I mean, my mom was definitely for my sister and I was definitely like bringing like a lot of the Disney entertainment brand into the house, especially when my dad was in the Gulf War. So she was just kind of, for like a year, she was just, she was raising us on her own. But yeah, I mean, at that age, it's like, again, I was like, oh yeah, the Beauty and the Beast, or whether like Snow White or whatever big ones are. Yeah, those are. I mean, okay, those are there, but it's like, no, my things were like, oh, this, Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and
Last Starfighter. I mean, there was Rambo. I mean,
attention
there
was
so much stuff watching.
Well, Rambo. I if my parents were not as stringent about R ratings, I probably would have been into a lot more of that shit earlier. But
you got to see it. I mean, yeah, and every household is different, but yeah, that's where my head was. And I've never been a big Disney guy. I don't, part of it was where I was raised, how I was raised, what kind of movies we were raised to see. So
like what Aaron said.
He really did. And he knew it wasn't going to interest us. He knew it wasn't going to interest me and my sister. He knew it. And he identified what we were, because we would watch what he was watching when he was watching TV at home. So that was our family time. He didn't watch, these type of movies just by himself. We were right there watching him. So we as a family knew what we, especially when it came to me, my dad, and my sister, what we wanted to see, and what he would allow us to see. And he always raised us with the context of knowing that, it doesn't matter what they do on screen, what happens on screen, that's not real life. You don't do this it's all that. So we were allowed to watch all kinds of stuff. Disney was never a part of it. I can't remember us. I know the old man took us to Disneyland a couple of times when we were kids. That's like a rite of passage. But as far as I don't think our family ever went to a Disney movie as a family, or It just wasn't,
I
you're also talking about the 80s too,
yeah,
so.
yeah. I definitely, got either like either them from like renting from Blockbuster, or being pulled along to them. I definitely saw my share. It just was again, it was more my sister's thing than mine. I was just kind of like, okay, I'm along for this, and like when I was able to actually like get a TV in my own bedroom and kind of old enough to go to movies on my own, that's like, okay, now I'm really kind of that's when Disney really kind of faded in the background for me at that
That's
point.
when I stopped watching. I stopped watching comedies. When I got my
Mm.
own TV, that was it for comedies because I only watched them because that was the one TV in the house. I didn't, Cheers was funny
Yeah.
sometimes, but
Oh,
Carson was never funny to me.
and yeah, and look
Um,
and looking back to that's another thing too, because of going into like my again sort of being pulled along on the Disney ride so much as a kid, and again like one thing I have learned from my folks growing up, they actually did a pretty good job of hiding from me and my sister. We were closer to the poverty line than I ever realized during that period. Now, with that said, I mean, well, my dad was in the, being in the military. So, I mean, a poor family in the army is one that doesn't have cable. So it's not, quite the same thing, but still it's like it wasn't until, I was around like 8 years old, or it's like, I got my own TV in my room or like had, had a Sega Genesis. So I had a little bit more control over like what I was turning on, and, the family is, it was gradually like economically climbing up, and of course my dad retired as a master sergeant, but it's one of those things you look back on and realize, yeah, they made some miracles happen in my family, but because of that, like again, Disney was and the when my dad was in the Gulf War, Disney my mom probably pulled so much of that to my sister and my life, because again there was again child appropriate, but also economically the options were maybe
yeah.
somewhat more limited than we knew of at the time.
If we didn't live on base, I would have never known. We would have probably been a whole different tier of because base was cheaper. All your stuff on
Yeah,
base was cheaper, so we could hide that. A lot of the stuff that was that you have with you was taken care of. That a lot of civilians didn't have to. I mean, the Air Force and Army infrastructure, but even then, an NCO in the military at any given time, if you're anywhere between E5 and you don't really start making that kind of money to really live those type of luxuries till E7.
yeah,
That's where
and
my dad. That's where it changed for us. Once my dad made E7, that's
yeah,
when you started to see shit change around us.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, same. Once my dad,
yeah,
with what is first sergeant? What is that E6 or
he's an
E5 or what?
E8. Your dad retired as an E8.
Yeah, but he retires, but when he got promoted to first sergeant, like what was that? What's that at?
E8.
That's E8.
First
Yeah,
sergeant is not a rank; it's a position.
yeah,
So at any given, when your dad was a first sergeant, that means he was the highest ranking NCO in generally in a company.
yeah,
But when he leaves that company, that diamond that doesn't
yeah.
come with him.
Yeah,
But
that
he's
yeah,
always going to EA. He makes the same amount of money he made the same amount of money as a first sergeant as he did as a master sergeant because it's
yeah, yeah.
basically the position.
Yeah, yes, and that's when yeah, we were also live in Hawaii. When he got the like I think I mentioned before, like he got that promotion on the USS Arizona Memorial.
Yeah, you told
So
me about
that's
that.
yeah, so that was looking back, yeah, you can see, yeah, that's when they started to climb up the ladder
Yeah, with now your
economically in the
senior
family.
NCOs,
Yeah,
um, there's less and less of you now, and you start making, and you're literally at the highest NCO. I mean, E9's the next one. That's sergeant major, but like, that's talking about a lot of guys don't want to stay in that long. A lot
yeah.
of guys that I knew that aren't even career, and they weren't even career military anymore.
Yeah, yeah. One thing my dad had told me is, when he enlisted, he wasn't initially intending, because he and my mom had just gotten married like a year or two prior, and they were trying to establish some stability in their lives, and so he enlisted, and he enlisted for like 4 years, whatever it was, and again, he thought that was going to be the extent of it. And then, of course, he said every time it comes to re-enlist, they held out a carrot to you. So before he knew it, he'd been enlisted in 10 years. And he says that, and then he says, it's like, once you're enlisted for 10 years, if you don't go for 20, you're basically an idiot for what they're offering you at the end of that 20-year finish line.
For me, I decided, well, my situation was a little bit different. I had been a reservist for most of my career. I did my combat tour. That was to me, that was the zenith. I did my active duty stand, and the center was starting to become, especially the screening room area when I decided to get out, was pulling in a lot. This was before Netflix. Netflix was there, but it was before Netflix. It was before streaming, like that. And we would eat weekends. Every weekend we had that place packed, and I was like, I couldn't afford to give up that first weekend of the month anymore. So I just didn't. So I thought I was going to be retiring, but then I'm like, it didn't really matter. A lot of the guys I knew retired, never served in the combat theater too. And then all of a sudden the wars came and everybody was in it. I knew guys that were E8s that they barely made a deployment.
Yeah, and my dad's not calling you an idiot, to be clear. This is how.
No. My dad said the same thing, but it was also a different time. And my dad, we say, get in and get your retirement. But as I evolved, the center became you just couldn't do both, especially where I was at. I wasn't just line soldier. I was a battalion training NCO. I was doing year-long active duty stints with the battalion that was here. It was taking up a lot of time. And once I got done with that, for my industry, every weekend is important. That is your that is your time to make 80% of what you're going to pull in is going to be pulled in on the weekend, especially here in Vegas. And I just couldn't afford to give up any time to it anymore. And I didn't think there was anything more I wanted to do with it. So I got my deployment. That's a permanent status. And I left out. And like I say, I got out for a little bit. I thought I was going to get back in, but things just got bigger. And it was like, I just didn't have the time anymore. So.
And the thing too is that my dad was retiring. His retirement coincided right when I was graduating high school, so that did actually, that kind of helped the family as far as like both of us sort of planning our futures. After retirement and graduation, that ended up being beneficial for all of us. I think.
Yeah, my dad, once he made a certain rank, he didn't have to move around, so we were spared a lot of the moving around that a lot of kids did. A lot of kids like yourself were pushed all over the place. And my dad,
we were moving every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, my dad turned down positions and turned down promotions because they met him moving, and he just didn't want that stability because he saw what was going on in other families. So, all right, I think we're done. I think we're done for the night.
I think we took everybody through like a military history with families too. It kind of was a weird sort of transition from Disney to that, but I mean, it kind of played into, my, I think William's familiarity growing up with Disney was like it was especially for me it was kind of predicated on, again, when my dad was in the Gulf War and my mom raised my sister and I. It's like, so Disney kind of became like a big default for her, and it's like I played along with it, but again, it's like I was always going towards something else, and it's just, that's just sort of explaining our relationships with it, both William and myself.
Rational said he left his question. Where did you leave it, Rational?
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull yours up before we stop the BR. Okay, here. William Brad, what version of Star Wars version would like to see? The most THX versions, 97 Special Edition, 2004 DVD. Well, this is a very technical question, man.
I don't know enough about all that to really give you an answer. The theatrical versions of that one, the special editions didn't do for me. That's the one where they put that little worm Jabba the Hutt thing in there, I think. So
yeah,
I was always okay
when
with
Han
the
stepped
original
on his tail.
Yeah, I was always okay with the original versions of Star Wars, to where those versions weren't the biggest deal for me. It was still until we got new Star Wars is when I got super excited. But those versions, I mean, other than the Jabba thing, I didn't notice too much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's the whole thing about who shot first.
But I know
Ford doesn't give a damn about it. Always freeze up.
George Lucas did. That's about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so I'm a Pixar. I obviously my big Pixar thing is Toy Story. I'm actually really looking forward to Inside Out too, because Inside Out, outside of Toy Story franchise, that's by far my favorite Pixar movie is Inside Out. Outside of Toy Story, Inside Out, it's hit and miss with me as far as Pixar. Again, it's a little bit like I mean they're so affiliated with Disney too, so it's there's stuff. I mean, there's stuff they've done that's been fun, cultural phenomenons that I've just either not seen or just kind of seen in passing. But again, they're not losing sleep over like one dude who's not necessarily their target audience. Just
Yeah,
kind of
like I said, these
casual on
companies are
it.
going to do just fine. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, tomorrow, probably going to be somewhere. Depends on what kind of invite I get. Also, we'll probably be doing our later stream. Then Saturday we have our 2 movies going on, and then we have our overnight show. I will be announcing. We'll have our merchandise up, and I will be announcing our next charity that we'll be doing, and some other stuff. But get some sleep, people. Get some food. If you live in the desert, drink water, and I will see you later on today in some form or fashion.
There, guys.